Welcome to News with a View, a Fat Cat production, hosted by me, John A. Costa, a leading expert on nothing, which makes me highly qualified to speak about anything. This is October 17th. This would be episode 144 on my playlist. This is a conservative-based program, and I do take in news from both the right media and the left media. Right being over here, left being over here. And I will shape it towards the conservative agenda, using, as always, the good book of the Constitution to say whether or not, in my opinion, or, is it feasible? Is it allowable? And so far, I'd say President Trump has about a 90% success rate in challenges that the Democrats trying to put roadblocks into everything he's doing. And he has to go to the shadow dockets and things to get stuff done that they all know that he can do, but they challenge it through district courts and some higher up federal appeals. Well, which they can do. But with everything, there's a price to pay. And he's going to extract his pounds of flesh. The shutdown is continuing. President Trump had left wiggle room for the Democrats to get something, such as an extension on the Obamacare subsidies for Obama health care. The Affordable Health Care Act, that is not affordable. That's why they need so much government bailout. So Trump would give them a little out on a lot of that. But the Democrats decided to squander that. I'm making some adjustments over here because I really don't like the way this is sounding. I think that's a little better. So the Democrats were given an out by President Trump. Just a little save face and push this down the road a bit. But of course, the Democrats, being the Democrats, squandered that opportunity. So now Trump says, we don't want anything from the Democrats. We're not, this is Friday. And I said in yesterday's podcast that if by Tuesday there is not some movement on the Democrats to get this in line, there's going to be a problem. Trump is just going to continue to hold out. And, the idea that excuse me, but I still have my sniffles. The idea that the Democrats who just keep playing up to the idea that Trump's a king. Trump is, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the people or anything. Well, if that is really the case, then Democrats, he's going to keep this government shutdown going because, as you said, he doesn't care. Where is your wiggle room? Where is your point to say, hey, all right, this is enough. We you know, we're not going to win this one. And, let's get the budget signed and we'll keep the fight going, but let's get everyone back to work. Now, this budget originally 3 weeks ago was only good till November, 21st. So that is still the case. So, Trump is now going to look and go, well, I'm going to put some more of my meat and potatoes in here. And if you say that I don't care, well then, hey, I don't care. The foolishness of Schumer and the foolishness of all these people who keep insisting that they know what's best and they know what their media wants. I can't figure them out. I just can't. I can't fathom the idea of the Democrats or their plans with everything that's going on. I just can't. The credibility of the Democrats is gone. They just don't make any sense. And I'm not saying that the Democratic issues that they're applying are not sound and absolutely issues. But if they know Trump's not going to deal with them and they signed up for the big beautiful bill, what did they think was going to happen during the budgets? They thought they were going to jam up President Trump? And I honestly, I do not think, and I said this yesterday too, and I'm just repeating some things I said yesterday, but I really think that Schumer wanted to go in there and, go, hey, let's cut a deal. The problem is now Schumer might not be in charge. So he's incapable of making the deal. So Trump doesn't know who to reach out to say, let's get you to the table here, because each little group inside the Democratic caucuses inside Congress are so fragmented that this group's not talking to that group's disagreeing with this group can't align behind them. They're dead in the water. And Trump is just going to continue going on saying, hey, I wanted something here. We worked hard on passing the big beautiful bill. In there was the course that we wanted to take, and the Democrats were behind it. You don't have to be all behind it, but we got a government to run. They didn't care. The Democrats thought they were going to box Trump into a corner, and Trump is 3, 4, 5, 10 steps in front of them. And you're just seeing a complete meltdown of the Democrats. And they just can't get out of their own way. Can't get out of their own way. And, this happens. Happened to Republicans. It happens to the Democrats. Just now, what has taken place with Trump, and they created the Trump monster. because Trump can't trust the Democrats. You know, he can't trust them. So you know what? I really keep them at arm's length so I could see what they're doing. I'm not going to get close to me and put a dagger back into me again. And he goes my way or no way. Take it or leave it. And then when he pulls an offer off the table, I mean, he's a businessman. He pulls an offer off the table. That offer will go back out there minus some things. Because you made me do that. So now I'm going to take some stuff away from it. It's like in contract negotiations when you get your best and final. Now, regressive negotiation, meaning today you get this, tomorrow you get less, less, and less, is really not a good way to go when you're dealing with contracts. But he's not dealing with contracts. But he's applying the same notion forward. He's playing that forward. And the Democrats have nowhere to go. The Democrats have nowhere to go. And so, they're going to have a no King's Day. Like I said yesterday, no Leprechaun Day, no ghosts, no Fairy Day. No, the moon is made out of cheese day. This is the nonsense that the Democrats are bringing forward to say, well, this is something we feel, we can do, and it works, and it's great, and it's wonderful, and it's not. It's not anything. It's nonsense. Get down to doing what you're supposed to do, and that's not to halt the system, to shut it down. That's certainly not doing your job. And they've been given more than enough time for the Democrats to make this work, and they just refuse. They just refuse. And what a shame. The Democrats really don't have any good spot. There's not going to be a good landing here for them. And they're going all in. They're being picked apart. Even the media is saying, hey, guys, maybe you shouldn't have taken on this fight. Maybe, you're blaming the Republicans. Republicans had what was out there. They haven't taken anything back. They haven't, the Republican leadership has not overplayed their hand. The Democrats were certainly given a bad hand, but the cards are face up. The Republicans know what's in your hand. Why would you try to call their bluff? Why, what's the logic behind that? Other than you wanted to hurt people. You wanted to hurt your own people, to go, look what they did to you. And you pushed them into the road in front of the truck. And then go, oh wow, we got hit. Oh, you were in the road. No, you pushed them into the road to get hit. So you could use them and at election time and go, this wasn't us. Look what they did to you. No, you Democrats don't get it. The news is getting away from woke and just buying every, going, yeah, we'll put that out there. We're gonna, yeah, screw Trump or screw the Republicans. America said, hey, we're seeing what you're doing. We've seen what you've done. And now they're going, oh, all right, we're going to show exactly what it is. And we'll see how that works. We'll go back to the beginning, when it was just news. And news is always biased. I mean, I'm biased. You're biased. Your beliefs are your beliefs, and your feelings are your feelings. The problem is that if you're going to do that, you have to have the facts to support you if you're hurting people. And you don't have the facts, Democrats. We're doing this so people could have health care. Well, no. People are having health care right now. Our citizens get Medicare and Medicaid, and they get none of that's being stopped. So who are you trying to help here? We know exactly who you're trying to help. And Trump won on the idea that, yeah, something has to be done, but we're not just giving all our money and taking it away from grandma and grandpa. And you said, well, that's not happening. Yeah, Illinois, $620 million spent on illegal health care, where less funding for meals for elderly citizens, infrastructure on our roads, and social programs combined didn't get $620 million. So when the left tells you this isn't about health care or this isn't about the illegals, it is all about that. There's things in the budget that would prevent hospitals from getting extreme payments for illegals, where they get carte blanche. They just get on Medicaid, and boom, the hospital gets reimbursed, and no questions asked. We've seen this. We've seen it. And so this is being halted, where I do say that this budget and things that need to be discussed is our rural hospital systems, where, a 20-bed or 30-bed hospital getting reimbursed like they were an 800-bed hospital, and the 30-bed hospital got compensated more because it's less volume. There's less people with insurance. There's less, but they got more in government aid. And taking that away, I don't know if that's a good idea. I mean, that's a noble challenge to go after, because that actually helps the citizens in those rural areas. So when I hear the Democrats speak about that, well, that's good to speak about. Whether or not they're accurate in their description of what's going on, that's another issue. But to have the conversation about it, that's fine. That's great. That's what they're supposed to do. Represent. They're not supposed to block. They're not supposed to hurt people. Except in the most extreme cases. And this is not the most extreme cases. This is about their total hatred of Donald Trump. Letitia, right? And we know who we're talking about. Letitia James, New York Attorney General, was elected under, I'm going to find something on Trump. I'm going after him. Show me the man and I'll show you the crime. And then she wins the case. He was found guilty, not by a jury, but by a judge that whole thing is being questioned, which is Trump's right to do. The verdict on the judgment, was tossed out. And just like I believe that his judgment, for not following the gag order on a civil case. Yeah. I mean, this was all done because he's Donald Trump. And I think in the end, all that stuff will be, reduced down. I mean, he was found guilty in a civil trial, and, we can go from there. The civil trial I'm talking about was the accusation that he did something in a department store with a woman, 40 years ago. And, I'm not talking about his business dealings, which even the banks were going, we didn't have a problem giving him the loan. He paid it. He paid the interest rate. We gave him a loan. If the bank didn't question him on this pen is worth $1 million, and they go, all right, yeah, it's worth $1 million. And the making the claim as a requesting a loan, it's up to the bank to say that that pen is worth $1 million. That's part of their due diligence in underwriting a loan. Mostly for a bank that is federally insured or state insured. But if the note was paid and, nothing was amiss, and we weren't talking about pen, we were talking about properties which now have exceeded those values 3 and 4 times. There was no case. Really, this was political witchcraft. The Trump going after Letitia James about, her being unethical and also falsifying a loan document, that is absolutely actionable on. Here's her thing, here's her signature, and she said, well, no, I was calling that a second home. And yet all her papers said that was going to be her residency. And I can understand if she just made a mistake on the application and go, yeah, yeah. But it really wasn't a mistake. It was done so she can get a lower interest rate. And the bank might have told her, hey, listed as a, people do it all the time. Listed as you're going to make it your primary residency, but you change your mind. And there could be real reasons why at that time, but did she disclose to New York, or was she in a position where she had to disclose to New York that she was changing her legal residency? And then if she didn't while she was there, there's questions. Then there's also her insurance policy she took out on the property, listing that she was going to be owner occupied. Because if you're not going to be owner occupied, you can get fire and limited then liability. You have to pay more for your policy, because your tenants might not tell you the roof is leaking in the back room because we never use it. Now you got all this damage done, and you weren't there to see it. So there is a reason why they ask that. You know, you're going to make sure the grass is cut. Are you going to make sure the sidewalks are cleared? Are you going to make sure that, you know, do you have a pet? Well, no, you're supposed to be living there, and they got a dog that goes wild and hurts someone. You can be sued. So, and the insurance company is, you know, partly on the, you know, on the outer fringes of that. Plus, if you were to lose your property, the bank loses their collateral. So it isn't so harmless when you think about it. And being in the credit union, I helped manage a credit union, and you had to compliancy regulations on writing notes and mortgages and stuff. I mean, super complex, and we would always have something wrong, and we would have to fix it, and when we had mortgages that went bad, and we did, we had to explain how we gave that money and what we did in our due diligence. Because in the end, we had to reserve for it and take that money away from the membership as far as capital and pay that note off. And then, you know, was it worth capturing the property? Was it worth doing this? Was it worth doing that? And like in New York, and it was almost impossible to. You could have 10 years worth of litigation to get someone out of their property, and you know, costing you $10,000-$12,000 a year, maybe $15,000 a year in legal fees, which would have been cheap for a $200,000 loan that could turn around on you, they could find a problem with your underwriting or whatever, and then turn around and go, no, that's no good. They get the house for free, and not only do you have to eat the, let's say, $200,000 note, but you've also spent $150,000 on legal fees. So sometimes you just gotta say, hey, we write it off. Write it off. Put a lien on the property, that property gets sold, someone's going to get paid, and we had that happen. So I would say we got 25 to 30% of our loans, but that's why you have the paperwork to say, at that snapshot in time, this is what you were doing. This was your plan. Now, were you, Letitia James, were you in office at the time? Were you going to move? Did you tell them, hey, my plan is, does that affect my position here as Attorney General, or can I get a dispensation? Now, in Adam Schiff's case, I would actually say that Adam Schiff probably has a pretty good shot at going, hey, you know, I'm a senator in Washington, D.C., having a house in Virginia or having a house over here and saying it's going to be owner-occupied. Well, when I'm in town, and yeah, I'm occupying it. I'm not renting it out. So I think Schiff has a much, much better chance of having the courts going, no, was it shady? Not really. His, you know, job took him to there, and he wanted a house. He didn't want an apartment. He wanted a house. All right. You know, so I don't see what Schiff did, and believe me, I'm no fan of Schiff. He's shifty. But I could understand that when questioned and asked about it, he'd have a legitimate reason. And again, if the bank didn't question it, and his insurance company, and he wasn't renting that house out and using it for income, and when he wasn't in town, it was locked and the alarm was set and everything else, I have no problem with it. Absolutely no problem with it. Letitia James had lied in previous. She said her dad was her husband to get a loan. I mean, there was a lot of shenanigans with her in the past. I don't think you can go back and capture that time. I think that's gone. Your statutes of limitations have run out. But you could use that to say that she showed a pattern of being deceitful on purpose, which in the end makes her unethical. And her actions then become questionable on her ethics. And again, not with Schiff. I think Schiff could have perfectly reasonable reasons for saying that was going to be a primary residence for him. I can get there with Schiff. But what I can't get to is with Letitia James and some other people who did things, And then was the mayor of Baltimore who took money from an IRA or did something and moved money around. And I didn't like what they did to that person either. But you got to be careful when you sign papers for a loan for at an institution that is federally insured. They have you read that bottom line. I mean, it's right there when you sign it. I attest that this is truthful to the best of my knowledge. Blah blah blah, and they'll give you a little fudge factor. You said, well, I have an investment in when I filled out the application, it was worth, $120,000. We took a 3% hit, and now it's worth, $225,000. Or, it was worth $300,000. We took a 3% hit. Now it's only worth, $291,000. Is that, do you have to report that? No, because at the time that was a snapshot of today. As of this date, and you put a date there, that's why they make you put dates on it and sign it and initial it. It's so that if it gets questioned, they go, well, this is what you told us. And we accepted that. Now, the bank could be, held responsible for a certain amount of that, not doing your due diligence, and not seeing that, if you were using, an investment in the Acme Bug Company in Shanghai, and that was your sole collateral on the loan, that's what I'm banking on, and the bank turns around and goes, yeah, great, we'll give you the $500,000, sayonara. I think that's Japanese, right? Not Chinese. Huh? And it goes southbound, and they go, well, we want, you use this as collateral. And the Acme Bug Company in Shanghai is worth, $2.50. Well, someone's going to question that. Someone's going to question that. So that's why filling that paperwork out and having the bank look at it and analyze it. And, you take a best case, which is, it triples. And a worst case turns down to nothing. What's the chances of it turning down to nothing? So you got to analyze and look at it. And Rennie's Loans is a risky business. It ain't for the faint of heart. But again, the Democrats, they have an ethical problem that they have to deal with. And, Schiff, they're questioning his, his ethics. And Letitia James, they're going after her. And she gets up there and she has the nerve. And New York State's going to pay for her legal fees and defense funds. They're going to help pay her legal fees. And we're in this fight together. No, we're not. No, we're not in this fight together. This is your problem, sweetheart. Unless you're going to give that property to the people of New York and they can sell it and recoup something of their $3 or $4 million this is going to cost the state to represent you, or, and you're going out there asking for, I need your money to fight Donald Trump. Why would you give her anything? She's a scammer. Alleged. Indicted. She's a scammer, as per the indictment. So, I can't get in trouble for that. You try. Good luck. I'll sue your pants off. Not that I'd want to see, but the problem for the Democrats, again, is there is no path out for them. And I said this when they lost in 2024. The best course of action for the Democrats to take was to say, American people, the voters have spoken. We look forward to working with the president. And we think that with our great ideas and what we envision as the future, I think this could all work out. And then say nothing after that. Sit back, analyze, how'd we lose this? Well, we lost it because of us all standing behind Joe Biden and being able, and you weren't even able to hide the strings controlling, that Joe Biden was being controlled. You couldn't do that. And when he lost the debate, and very rare do you lose a debate, because debates aren't about winning and losing, it's about persuading. That's what a debate is. You've got to persuade people. And Joe fell apart. And I said, I think Trump would have won the election that night. Would he go, we got to stop, there's something wrong with this. Is there something wrong with Joe Biden right now? Is he having a medical condition? Because I think this is too much for him. And, we'll have a second debate, and we'll come back. We have another one planned. But I think there's something wrong with him. And, I want to win, but I'm a human being. There's something wrong. And if they go, no, he's fine, he can perfectly, well, all right. And then you start doing for the headshots and the body shots, and you can go, because I gave you an out. And I thought Trump did take it easy on Joe Biden. I would have thought that the Democrats would have said, hey, Joe, and they did. They tried. He traveled. He did this. He was tired. But he couldn't even answer basic questions. And I think they realized that if we have a second debate, he'll just be standing in front of the cameras drooling. And then everything that Trump has been saying the last 6 years about Joe Biden would be, people would go, I have absolutely no faith in the Democratic leadership that's there. They lied to us. They could have put someone else up. Why'd they allow him to run? What was the idea of allowing him to run? And I think they just said it would be better for Joe just to go, adios. And that was a disaster. Absolute disaster. And the credibility of the Democrats was lost. And once that door was open, there was no shutting that door and putting your shoulder against it and keeping the wolves at the door. That door was off the hinges, and that was it. The Republicans could run with it. The media, who was hiding what was going on with Joe Biden, was then, called to question. Everyone started watching Fox, who kept saying this about him and saying, hey, he's got a problem. And some other news outfits were also saying that, And the ones that were saying, no, we spoke to him, he's perfectly fine. And then they find out we haven't talked to him in 8 months or 10 months, or they've been hiding him. And then you start finding out that everything that they were telling you was a lie. And then, not only a lie, they were making up situations and then remedies for those fake situations that there was nothing to have a remedy for. Yet, the Democrats were doing that. In the meantime, we saw what happened with the Ukraine and Russia. Joe Biden called Russia's bluff, and Russia goes, you're a weak president, and we're going into the Ukraine. And you're not going to start World War III over the Ukraine. And look where we are today. Joe Biden, his anti-Israeli talks, all this, everything, from Obama down, all anti-Israeli. And you can say what you want about Israel, but they were an ally, and they gave us intelligence. Now, that intelligence cost us. I'm not saying they gave it to them, like, psst, Charlie, here, you might want to see this. It was more, psst, Charlie, I got something here. It's got to be worth $500 million in aid, or $100 million, because if they do this, you'll be talking billions. And they give it to them, and they look at it, and they go, all right, we checked it out, thank you. Who do we make the check payable to? Now, is that what friends do? So you could make that argument to me, and I'll listen to that argument. That, it was business more than it was friendship, and it was for their own well-being, not so much our well-being. They wanted our cash. They wanted our money. They wanted our defenses. They wanted us to stand behind them. All right, there's a price. You're going to pay the price. But Obama and Biden, just the dislike of the Jewish state, and you could see it. It was written in their face, like, smiling here, but you're sticking a needle in me. And how quick the Democrats abandoned them, Israel. How quick, and this is the Democrats. they abandoned Joe Biden. They just pushed him, and then they badmouthed him to boot. And, they write books, on how bad he was. There is no loyalty with Democrats. And I'd say there's very little loyalty in politics. But man, have the Democrats really crapped on one another. And to the delight of the Republicans. To the delight. And, now in New York, they're really worried that, Mondani could have a shot at being a communist mayor. And yet the Democrats fully endorsed him instead of going, we're going to hold our nose with Cuomo. Eric Adams was out, but we're going to hold our nose and get Cuomo in there. And they were afraid of Cuomo because Cuomo knows that you got me dumped out of my job as governor. You made me resign in disgrace. So it would be hard for the Democrats. Really, who did the Democrats have? A communist or their version of a toucher? So they went with the communists. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. But it's not unbelievable. It's typical. It's typical shenanigans of the left. So I don't see that as being a surprise to anyone. I hope Cuomo wins. I know I would love to see Curtis Sliwa win, but that's a long shot. That's a long shot. Maybe if Cuomo would have stepped aside, Curtis Sliwa could have had a shot. But the Democratic machine would never allow that. They would take Cuomo, and they're willing to take a communist. I mean, it's mind-boggling that they would do that. Let's talk about John Bolton, indicted, and everyone going, look, Trump is going after all his political enemies. John Bolton was being looked at for a long, long time over his book, where he released classified information. He also used unsecured channels to post information. No bueno. This wasn't anything new. This was not a Comey, where, though they knew they have Comey lying to Congress. They have that. That is, they got him. They got him. Now, do they get Brennan yet? Do they get Clapper yet? Who knows? And, you're going, well, he's going after all the people that are political, Well, these people went after him with lies. And you know what he's using? Facts. The Russian dossier, Hillary Clinton's dossier that she paid for. Write me a story and I'll leave it on someone's desk as proof, as fact. Comey lied. Comey lied. He lied to Congress, lied to the Senate, lied to a lot of people. And his deputy confirmed that. And when asked, this is what your deputy is telling us, and this is what you're telling us, which one are you lying? His deputy was smart enough to keep the proof, and he has the proof. And Comey can only say, he's a liar, he's a liar. That's not, and try to fight it up through the courts as, getting the charges removed or saying that they did not follow proper procedure or something along that line, which Comey is allowed to do. That's his rights. He can challenge that. But they got him. They got him. And they'll have Brennan, Clapper, what was Mayorkas, the old Homeland Security guy. They'll get them, Mike Kors. I'm horrible with names, but you know who I'm talking about. They'll get him too. Because now the secrets, and remember, the FBI is the keeper of the secrets. And there's people in the FBI who know those secrets. And Kash Patel knows who those people are. And going, here's what happens. If you work with us, you're going to keep your job. You're not going to be on any assignments or anything, but you're going to keep your job. You're going to have that desk over there, and you fill out the next 10 years of your career here. And you look at fingerprints or something. Type up reports. But we're never putting you in charge of anything. Not even the toilet paper dispenser. Nothing. Or you can say you didn't do anything wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. You open the door and you walk out. And then we get the second bite of the apple. And we wouldn't call you in this room and shut this door if we didn't know exactly where we were going to bite that apple and what we were going to get, and there's no worm in it. So, you have a choice right now. What say you? And go from there. And that's what they did. And the ones that didn't, were let go. Were let go. And they go, well, now you're on your own, baby. Let's see what happens. And, they all lawyer up because they know. And even in any discussion with federal agents, any deceitful, anything that you're trying to lead them away from the truth, you're chargeable. And I've said that's different from the police. You could lie to the police. As long as you don't fill out an official form. But you just speak the untruth to the FBI or a federal agent, you could be in big trouble. Ask Martha Stewart. So, My recommendation is always, if the police are sniffing around for something that you know about, and other than, you witnessing something and you're telling them, when they come knocking on the door and they go, we'd like to talk about the evening of the 19th with you. You remember what you did on the 19th? Yeah. Don't talk to them. Don't even say, no, I don't remember the 19th. Because you'd be lying. And that's not the way to go. And you go, give me your card. At the convenience of my attorney, he'll contact you. And then we can talk. And then, well, hey, you're not, we're not here, we're just trying to find stuff out, we're not. If I wasn't home, you wouldn't have this conversation with me. And I'm not saying anything more until my lawyer is with me. And they go, well, you don't need a lawyer if you're innocent. They'll always throw that stuff at you. If they're asking you very specific questions about things, they already have the answers. And they're trying to jam you up. Don't help them. Mostly if you know you're guilty, or you had something to do with the alleged shenanigans. Why help them? Don't lie to them. Don't help them. Get a lawyer. If the FBI or government agents show up, absolutely invoke your 4th and 5th Amendment rights immediately. And if they go, well, we're going to arrest you then. Well, they were going to arrest you anyway. So now they can't ask you any questions. You get a lawyer there, and now the fun starts. So most people who are not truly criminals in the sense of being, a 24-hour-a-day criminal, will try to, if I answer some of the questions, they'll let me go. No, fellas, I'm just going to tell you right now. You be in trouble. So use your constitutional rights, because they're going to do everything they can under the law, which is lie to you. They can lie to you. With impunity, they can lie to you. Well, I got a guy in another room that says, you did... No. And when they get you like that, and they separate you, or whatever, lawyer up. Lawyer up. Because if they do have a guy in the other room that is spilling the beans on you, you need a lawyer to get you out of that. Because maybe that other guy said, hey, do I need a lawyer? And they go, well, not if you didn't do anything wrong, But if right there now, the guy goes, should I have a lawyer here? And that testimony might be thrown out. That confession or statement might not be, can be used as evidence. It can be used for the police to go further and look a little bit further and maybe ask a third person. But his is already tainted, can't be used. So that's why you want lawyers. Mostly if you know you did something wrong. And like I said, the worst thing you could do, but some people just go, okay, you got me, And, they unburden themselves. And that's not what you should do. You should exercise your rights. If you're found guilty, there's a good chance you're going to go to jail, or you can face some type of punishment. But they have to earn it. They have to earn it. Make them earn it. All right. So with that, my little Friday jaunt on, the Democrats and the legal system. Wasn't that a nice day? Wasn't that a nice talk? And give to a charity. If you're not comfortable with giving to a charity, give to a food bank. They all need food. You might not think 4 cans of food or 3 cans of food, it's going to do anything or, meaningful or, why didn't you bring 20 cans in or, But to people that don't have 3 cans of food, that's wonderful. They have a family, buy SpaghettiOs. It's a meal. Buy pasta. It's a meal. Buy tomato sauce. It's a meal that you can give them. I'm not saying going out and buy a $30 steak for them and bring it to them. But certainly those little canned hams and stuff like that, that could help a family. So you might not think that that means a lot, but if 30 people did that normally didn't do that, that makes a difference. Okay. Say a prayer. Prayer works no matter what a Democrat tells you. And with that, I'll be doing a podcast again, a live podcast, probably tonight. Tonight is Friday, the 17th, and I'm going to Socrates Stations in about 15 minutes. No drinking. I'm just going to go meet friends there. The wife might drink, but me, no. Because I'm driving tonight. I don't drink and drive. And if I do drink and drive, if I do decide to have drinks, then I take an Uber back to my house and I make my poor daughter-in-law drive me the next day to get my car. That's her punishment for living at our house. So, all right. We'll catch you either tonight, definitely tomorrow. There will be a podcast tomorrow. And like I said, next week sometime I'm going away. I'm not going away. It's, well, in essence, yeah, I am going away. But I'm not going away. I have some things that must be addressed. And, sometimes things are out of your hand and you just got to go, fine. And, we all get older. All right, I'll catch you later. And with that, I'm going.